Okay, we're ready to go. Good evening. It's April 8th, advisory committee meeting time. Our main purpose tonight is to go over and start working on our presentation for tonight. Let me, however, hand out copies of...
Dog hair.
All right, this is what you asked, right, Brad?
Correct.
Okay.
I put 15 on the front.
Okay. Guys, having a panic attack there for a minute.
What's the matter? Panic?
Well, I was expecting last year's. So
Oh,
it said
I
15.
started-
And when it said 15, I got nervous. Okay, your copies of the warrant, the final version. Right, suitable for framing.
Oh, good. Final.
And copy of the, printed out copy of the final budget worksheets, which hopefully reconciles to okay.
Not good.
So let us look at, before I forget, let me hand out one other thing. Here's the advisory summary, which we hand out every week, and which has been updated to reflect the final budget worksheet, and again, it ties to the warrant and all this other fun stuff. Okay. So as I was upstairs making copies just now, the assessors are meeting upstairs. They asked to meet with us next week, so I'm going to put them first on the agenda, and I'll contact Linda to have that put on the formal agenda. It'll be about 15-20 minutes because one of these slides is information that they provide, and they want to discuss that with us.
Which is good, because that was one of my major...
Yep, one of the big questions we have.
Yep.
So characteristically, what we do is we go through the budget. Now, is this already partially updated?
For the most part. So slide one, so
All right,
front,
why don't you take us through it
all right,
and tell us where you need help, and then we'll divvy up who owns what,
fair enough.
okay?
So, and all I did was take last year's
Template.
and start,
Yeah.
really just changing the wording, 14 to 15.
Yeah.
Even really some of the same bullet points are exactly the same. So page 1, I did update, and I
Okay.
believe most of the numbers are correct, even with the last couple of iterations over the past couple days and such. So slide 2 and 3 are for the most part updated, but I also, you'll notice on the last 2 bullet points, there was, a number there and a question mark, and then,
Yeah.
and then do we as a group want to include any other points or change? And a lot of this is what I took from Bob's summary, and in terms of significant events, there's an exact category in there. From there, we go into home estimate graphical slides on pages 4, 5, 6, and 7. I did not touch at all.
Yeah.
And Randy said that he would, I tried to go in, but it looks as though they're just pictures. Like the
Yeah, you do them on Excel, and then you just copy the chart.
Alright, so, I did not do any of those, but I think, the conversation can also be, do we continue to have all of them? Do we get rid of
Right.
any as such? So, those have not been touched. As we go to slide 8, that is, even though I did put 15, I neglected to put question marks. So all of those numbers are last year's.
Okay.
So I just went in and updated what I could in terms of FY15.
Okay.
And then finally, pages 9 And 10, again, questions on, I updated where I could, but I really just kept the same exact bullet points as last year's slide.
Okay.
And then the last slide, I did confirm with Donna that that rating is still the same.
Not AA2?
I think,
The state DOR website has it as AA2.
I remember reading an article last year, it was A3.
yeah, I think
Yeah, so in last year's presentation, it was 3, and the, where the hell is it? Yes, it's AA3. We don't have ratings.
Yeah.
For other agencies, only deal and pay for Moody's. So I thought we might have S&P or,
No, I knew S&P
So-
didn't cover us.
so, but I can obviously circle back, but that is what I got from Donna. In terms of, and again, the other, assuming we're all in agreement, then, slide 10 has been updated.
Okay, regarding the bond rating,
Would you like for me to follow up again, or would you
yeah, I
prefer
want you to
to?
follow up with Donna because there's two questions. Again, the state DOR website has this as AA2. And, it's the state DOR website, so it could be wrong. But then the two follow-up questions are, is this unchanged from forever? Or has our rating changed in the past 10 years?
I think it did, it went
was
from
single
A1.
A1 until about
So-
5-6 years ago.
Single A1.
Really, it was 5 or 6
So it
years?
was- so it went up.
It went up about 5 or 6 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and then it went down.
No, I don't think so.
That's my real question is, did
I
it go
thought it
down?
was, I thought we were at bond rating 1 at one point, and then we went down.
Well, we were single A1 and then we got upgraded to double A3, and I don't
Oh,
think there's been a
okay.
change since then, but
And the second question is, my understanding is that this is the highest bond rating a town our size can have. Is
You're
that
saying
true?
2 or 3?
An AA3.
A3.
I would be careful of that because I believe Carlisle might have a better bond rating than we do, and they are not as populous as we are.
They are not as populous as we are, but the value of their town is 1.5 times greater than ours.
Yeah. So it's important to define size then, I guess. And
So based upon revenue,
Well,
it might be based upon valuation, I guess.
yeah. Based upon any way she,
based upon whatever the criteria is.
based upon whatever the criteria is.
I was in the bond business and ran a municipal bond mutual fund. I don't think they would ever write down something like no town of 5,000 or fewer people can ever be higher than. But I think when, we've done a meets annually with the analysts from Moody's. And I sat in on a couple of those meetings when I was chairman of advisory. And I think in one of those meetings, they said, we don't rate towns of your size higher than that. And I don't think they said ever, but, it's sort of a general rule. So I don't think you can make that absolute.
Then the other way to ask the question is there anything we can do to get a higher bond rating?
Okay.
And the answer is yeah.
Yeah.
She'll answer that.
Yeah.
So Dave, I'm getting confused on the different agencies, AAA, AA. In the Moody's world, AA3 is where?
It's a weak double A.
All right.
I can send you a PDF of a document from Moody's that I have that explains the different ratings.
Yeah.
But
And I
any
can-
kind of double A is very good.
Oh yeah, no, I can even I can look. I was
Okay.
just seeing how Dave is right here.
In other words,
Okay.
AA2 is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AA1 would be the best, and then, and you're into AAA.
Oh,
But AAA's don't have 1s, 2s, or 3s. AAA is
Triple A.
gold.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But all the other ratings have 1s, 2s, or 3s to sort of give a little
You
rating.
know what the answer to that last question is gonna be, what can be done to raise the rating?
No, I really don't. I mean,
Free cash, isn't it?
No, absolutely not.
All right.
Absolutely not. That's not gonna be the answer. Because I don't have them with me, but I've got charts that show towns with higher amounts of free cash and stabilization that have lower bond ratings than we do. There's many towns that have,
The ratings are mostly based on the town's ability to pay, not so.
Not a snapshot.
They look at our average income and our assessed valuation, and they say, you know, if there's a problem, these guys got the money to go to.
Yeah.
Whereas they would look at a less affluent town and say, if there's a problem, they don't have anywhere to go.
so, you know, I've looked at a bunch of things, including Carlisle. They have a ton of free cash, but the big distinction with them is the fact that they're 1.5 times the value of us, even though they're about the same population.
So in a nutshell, basically I've done a first run through,
Okay.
except for the graphical slides, and then the tax slide on the assessor, so it's perfect that they're coming in next week.
All right, so let's go back and start with the first page.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to comment that I don't think having a higher bond rating is a good goal.
Okay.
It makes you hit your taxpayers much harder than you need them to be in perfectly good financial shape.
But
My
if
guess
the,
is
if the answer is there's not much you can do short of raising the value of your town, that's important for
Yeah.
people to know.
My guess
Because there's different opinions on that.
my guess is the answer might be to increase the stabilization fund, because I know Moody's has been quite keen on stabilization funds, and I think that would be a bad thing for us to do.
You know, we can ask the question, that's all. Okay?
Yep, will do.
All right, so the first slide, abnormally high free cash. I don't know why the word abnormally gets a strong emotional reaction from me, but I would prefer unusually, or, you know. The other thing to think about is, you know, at least 200,000 of that is because Neshoba couldn't get us the right budget number before July 1st.
True, and so the reason for the word, Bob, was I'm looking at your statement.
Yeah.
Some
Can I use that word?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, so they're going to have this in the warrant.
Yeah.
1, 2. I could just make my life real easy and
Just
totally copy everything that
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah.
So I understand the Neshoba part. I was going to use that as a speaking point. So the slide.
Just see how other people react to that too.
Yeah.
Or just, you could just say high free cash, indicating it's not normal, it's high, and then it still begs explanation.
Yeah, I don't really, we can even go back to using the word, it doesn't matter to me.
I think it's worth saying high free cash because that,
This is an out of the bounds year relative
Right.
to,
it's important for people, I think, to know that this is not our normal. Part of the reason we utilize some of that money to go towards the truck, the fire apparatus.
Maybe you want to say free cash above DOR recommended limit.
well, and I was gonna, I wanted to bring that up on, I saw that somewhere, and I guess my concern is we're stipulating that where it works. But our comment last week was, for all intents and purposes, we're ignoring it, and we're okay
Well-
going much lower. And especially with the feelings of the selectmen, I just thought we might just leave that
You know,
alone until next year.
Well, first off, it's in the advisory committee statement.
Yeah,
That's the recommended amount. The second is, we've got a low target because historically we've always come in high anyway. So why, part of the logic there is, until we know, this is the funny thing about the free cash discussion, is everyone's afraid that all of a sudden we're gonna know what we're doing, right? And we're actually our forecasting and all that stuff will be accurate and right on the money, and, I know we're working toward that historically, but we've always worked toward that, and our free cash is coming higher.
You
So-
really believe that?
What?
I think, as long as we keep it between 3 and 5%, they'll be happy. I don't think they care if we get it right on the money, or we know what we're doing.
No, I'm just saying yeah, so as long as it comes in between 3 and 5%, but the discussion was versus the 250 that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And since it always comes in way above our target, let's lower the target, and that brings you
Shoot for lower.
in, at the end, it comes in between 3 and 5%,
Right,
right?
right.
So,
And that's why this year it was 6.5.
But I think they
meaning
want
it
us to
was
start.
abnormally high.
it was abnormal. Well, again, part of that was the
The
school
200
budget,
and the grants.
and then there was another pile of grants in there,
that's right.
Right,
so.
yeah.
Connie was saying they want us,
They want us to start
start
somewhere. They don't.
They don't want us to
care
end
back in. They
Well,
want to
I
end
know,
it that way.
Yeah.
that's a different discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So how do we want to leave that first bullet point? If everyone else is okay with it the way it is, then, I'll be fine.
I think if you speak to it, to explain the abnormality, then it's okay.
Yeah, and Bob's point of, the part of the reason where, the discussion in the statement about, last year's special with the school assessment, I mean, that was one of the drivers. So I was absolutely gonna mention that, but I can change abnormal to unusually. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
to me.
Okay.
I say that's gotta work.
So unusually high free cash. All right, and then, the budget number, I took that directly from the statement. Budget 155, 127, below max tax capacity.
All right. Anything else on the second bullet point? I think you need a space between 127 and up. Over here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you need a space there.
I read you.
And that million, okay. Everyone comfortable with the second bullet point?
yes.
All right, third bullet point? Dan?
I think that is somewhat misleading because we did lower the contribution from the reserve fund from its historic level by $50,000.
I agree.
So
But all the money for that ambulance is
Well,
coming out.
I agree this is technically true. I said
Yeah.
it was misleading, not technically
Yeah.
untrue. So,
Totally.
just saying.
Well, okay. No, go ahead.
Well, I don't want to, I think this is a side conversation, but it's misleading, or not misleading, but confusing that in the statement it says 225 for the purchase of the ambulance.
That's my typo.
Oh,
That's my
Okay.
typo. It's 250.
all right, then,
And And if it comes up at the meeting, you just point to me and go,
No, I'm not gonna do that.
you know, it's his typo.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
All right, so then bullet point 4, the total capital purchases to be funded by free cash, other available funds and borrowing. And essentially added up all of the capital projects.
Yeah.
And then, used, so that looked at the free cash amount, the other available funds, which, so if we go to, where is it? Okay, if I remember correctly, these three numbers, other available funds of 277,440, 602 of capital projects, plus 245 of borrowing, should come up to the 1.12. So 277,440, 602, 928, and then 245, 1125, 368.
Okay. I guess the question I have about that is you're sort of double counting the ambulance. Because that's why I was sitting here thinking that 1,125,000 was way higher than I expected, but yeah, if you include the ambulance, then that makes sense.
So, yes, I am.
Unless you want to add to that, including the ambulance.
But then it makes it untrue,
Because
because it's not funded, the ambulance isn't funded by any of those three sources.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think I can just clarify. I mean,
Okay.
a couple of
Then
the,
here you've got to back out to 250 from your total
Oh.
here.
okay. So therefore, so that's 875, 368 then.
All right. It still seems high. $602. Okay, I see the 602, and
I added that, but then subtracted out the 250, like you just said, plus the 245 of borrowing.
oh, okay, all right, that's where it gets to 800.
So yeah, this is,
Okay.
I slightly modified this bullet point. Last year's bullet point simply said free cash
Right.
and
Other
available funds. So I modified it to reflect what we're planning on for this.
Okay. Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, we ready for the second page? Okay.
Second or third, oh well.
Yeah, third page, sorry. Page 3. With the... I understand what you're saying in the first bullet point, but I think
It's misleading.
it's gonna confuse people. It's correct, but I think it's gonna confuse people.
And yeah, and that's where I was going to. I was always taught that a presentation is just high level, and then it allows the presenter to add on. And I was specifically going to state that the game plan, we haven't got to it, but Article 26 coming up later on tonight or tomorrow night. Here's the deal, what we're thinking. And so, just so you guys all have a frame of reference, so last year's presentation, the bullet point was, this is the second consecutive year of no new borrowing.
Right.
So I took that bullet point and turned it into this one.
Yeah.
So, but again, I mean, I simply wanted to get a start on this so we can further the conversation tonight.
Yeah.
If you guys would prefer to adjust,
See, then the question comes up, well, if you had the ability,
Right.
why didn't you do it?
Because it's not
And,
all.
and we have an answer for that, but you're gonna take 3 or 4 minutes to explain all that,
Right.
and then you're gonna lose your audience.
all right. So,
What it, this, it's under the, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm not even sure of this bullet point because it's not really true that we do have the money to pay and fund all capital projects, but we decided to borrow, it's just like, it's true and then it makes you believe, but you're borrowing. You're not really funding all
yeah,
of
and
it.
this, and the
You're borrowing.
clarification point is, we
So-
absolutely have. I mean, so we've got, we have the cash to take care of everything. Specifically by design, we are looking to take 245 of the fire truck and put it on a ban.
Okay.
Essentially, the idea of someone having money in their bank account, putting a purchase on a credit card, 30-day float on their money, and moving forward, and paying it off at the end of the month. In a nutshell, that's what we're essentially doing with the ban. And the idea is because we are looking to provide you with immediate tax relief this year,
I know, it's
in addition to taking care of the needs of the town. So that was gonna be the,
And you're right, it just, I think you lose your audience before you get there. I think they're gonna remember the bullet point and that's it.
And the significant event is really,
If you have to explain the bullet point,
that
you
we're
have,
borrowing for
Yeah.
the first time in a bunch of years.
yeah.
you know,
And I
And
guess
then it's coming
I was
back,
looking
you know.
to put in a primer to, before we got to Article 26, for those in the crowd who haven't been paying attention on the ones that might be coming to town meeting and seeing all this for the first time, I was looking to lay in a primer.
No, I-
ahead.
Instead of utilization of borrowing this year by design, maybe you could put the little bullet point of it has to do with lowering your taxes somehow. We're turning it back into tax relief instead of,
okay, but this is the introduction, it's the highlights. You shouldn't have to explain this stuff.
All right.
You've got to explain the graphs, but the bullet points should just be, this is what we want you to remember.
Borrowing X amount of money for fire apparatus.
I would take out by design and say to provide tax relief. Utilization of borrowing this year is to provide tax
Yeah.
relief.
I think that's a great idea.
It's hardly
And
any more
it's-
words.
and it's-
That's,
And everybody would understand, oh, they could have paid for everything, but instead, they're gonna borrow some, so we get some tax relief, and I don't think anybody will. I think I'd remember that over many of the other things
Well-
we talk about.
I just think you're I think you're going to introduce more uncertainty as opposed to provide clarity. I mean, it's the third year we could have done it, but we decided not to.
And we decided
Right,
not to.
that's what's hanging me up too.
That's what.
We're doing it different.
Okay, so now it requires an explanation. This is just the bullet points. This is what we did. You don't want to have to explain these significant events.
Where would
So we're
that go?
borrowing a third of the, or whatever it comes out
Because
to be.
it is, I think it's a good point to have in there, and I think it's good that people who, again, Brad, you made a good point. If people are coming in
Oh,
cold
you're-
and they're not,
You're making it here. You're making it on your second bullet point, that we're using free cash.
Well, a significant event is that we are turning some of the.
oh yeah, and then I see the tax relief there. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep, no, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that was somewhere, because I think
But,
that's a good point.
the fact that we're providing tax relief is the second bullet point.
That's what it
The
shines.
third bullet point is,
Right.
the significant reason for this bullet point on the top of page 3 is the first half of the sentence. It's we could have done this,
Right.
but we didn't. All right? And the point is, and I guess if I'm sitting in the audience and I hear that, I go, okay, you could have.
See, but then but I'm like Dave, I followed it up with, but you awarded me with money. I would feel that way. I was awarded some tax relief, although you set it up there,
But we
then I
already
know
said that.
why.
All right,
Yeah,
so-
but I know why then you didn't pay
You're
for
right, so if
everything.
so what we're also trying to get across here is the fact that the town came to us with a whole boatload of capital projects,
Yeah,
and they're being taken care of.
yeah.
So maybe just that. Take out the word free cash, take out
Well,
the
you
third
have it.
consecutive year.
Your last
Yeah,
bullet
you've
point
got
on page
it's right
2.
here.
Yeah.
So, why
You know,
don't you
if-
just put you,
If we were using free cash for everything, I'd say leave it in. But you're kind of starting down one path and then switching gears.
Yeah.
that's
And
how I read it to start with.
yeah, and I think, you know, it doesn't deserve to be a bullet point.
Just take
Now,
it
some
out.
people would argue that what we should put in here as a bullet point is, yes, we're adding debt, but it's inside 2.5, which I think is, if you're adding debt, it's insignificant whether it's inside 2.5 or not.
It's hugely.
Oh, hugely significant.
No,
You don't think?
no.
Oh,
David, you pay the same amount whether it's inside or outside.
no, your taxes.
Your taxes stay up.
Your taxes don't go up.
Of course they go up.
No, they don't.
David, if you're paying $70,000 in tax,
They
in,
don't,
I understand, yes. Assuming you don't use the exclusion to spend on something else.
Right.
And my assumption is you will use the.
okay, but we didn't because we have excess capacity.
No, we-
So whether
we don't
this is
know.
inside or, I mean, you know, and we've made the point about excess capacity, so there's no point in bringing that up again.
sure.
All right, so on page 3, top bullet point, take it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I reverse to bullet point number 2 on the first page for this one sec?
Okay.
Where it says, the budget is 155,000 below maximum tax capacity plus 235 of free cash normally used to fund town operations? Is that,
Where are we?
am I?
No.
This one?
So is, in other words, this whole idea, we're trying to say, this money is going back to you instead of being put back into the budget. Would that be a place that it could be,
No,
would
because
the work manually help?
Well,
to
I
have
think
that?
you need a historical perspective here, and that
Okay.
is that last year was the first time we didn't need free cash just to balance the budget.
Okay,
Prior to that, we used free cash for years and years and years in the budget.
okay.
This year, we didn't need to use free cash to balance the budget, but we're putting it in there just to provide tax relief. That's the big,
Right, okay,
that's the
right,
big.
so that's how, okay. And that essentially is what's being said
I
there.
think that's another inside baseball thing that
Okay. Doesn't
you know,
need to be bulleted. down
there's
big
12
picture.
people in town who really appreciate the distinction, and most people just want to know they're getting tax relief.
Okay. All right, thanks.
I mean, you agree, or?
I totally agree.
Okay,
I didn't,
Sorry, thanks.
not normal.
yeah. Okay, so we're back on page 3, second bullet point. Debt service will decline 5.2% over prior year to 1.9 million in fiscal 16?
So, taking,
Well, what's the prior year then?
Well,
this current,
Julie's spreadsheet has debt service down 2.75% fiscal 15 over 14.
he's got 16.
yeah, so last year's presentation, the debt service will decline 2.6 over prior year to 2.1 million in 2014.
14.
14.
But that was for the 14 budget.
That's right. So
Yeah.
you're jumping up
Yeah.
a year here.
But if you're using 15, where does the 5.2 come from?
So
I think the 5.2 is right for 16. Julie said we were going to have a big decline next fiscal year.
what did I do?
So I
Yeah.
would be more interested to know the decline for 2015. This confused people.
No, I know.
It's
Plus in the budget, the debt
Budget?
service is 2.1
Yeah.
million, not 1.9.
that's
So
I think it's on my summary sheet, isn't it?
It's on the front page of Julie's budget sheet, debt service.
so yeah. So what I ended up doing was
Yeah, debt service goes down $58,000 in fiscal 15 from 14. And it's a 2.75% decrease. Debt service in fiscal 15 is 2066451.
I think you're actually right about the estimates for fiscal 16, but that
yeah.
isn't
So
the right
yeah,
thing to have
this
in this presentation.
yeah. All right. So
All right, so debt service will decline 2.75% to 2.066 million or 0.7 million.
I was gonna say 2.1
Okay. Close enough.
in 15.
Yeah.
All right.
And if we go to other available funds for the next, any other questions on that second bullet point? Okay. Right, there was $100,000 released by the assessors. But to tell you, I don't even know if that's worth a bullet point anymore.
Yeah, and so, whatever. So the question is, what other events, if any, do we want to include in these slides? I mean, the theme of this year is we have coverage of all the capital items. The taxpayers are going to be receiving some tax relief.
Be careful how you phrase that, though, because you don't know that taxes are actually going to go down, or even that the tax rate's going to go down.
Yeah, what did I just say?
Well, tax relief.
Alright.
So, I mean, that's, maybe we'll know better after the assessors come in next week.
All right.
But,
That's
They-
a
they
question I
wanna-
would ask them.
yeah.
I would ask them.
So, I don't know any other significant events right now.
This is a place where typically big capital items have been discussed, or is this is all just the budget?
This
Or
is,
the,
well, no, it's,
Operating.
it's a snapshot, and it's an overview of the town before we discuss the budget.
okay,
So it's not,
It's like the state.
way,
of-
way high level.
yeah, historically, it's not, we're gonna advocate for this or we're gonna advocate for that. It's a snapshot you're presenting to the town of the financial condition of the town compared to last year, and,
Okay.
you know,
Got it.
and really
Not a
very high
place where
levels.
like, this is why the ambulance isn't costing.
Yeah, no,
Got it.
yeah, that's
Thank you.
not here. It's not here. Okay, should we go on to page 4?
Maybe you should have
Yeah, I have not done anything. These are exactly as they came in from last year's presentation.
Okay. Do you know how to update those, or you need
I
some?
do not, because they were just pictures in the presentation.
All right, let me take this, I'll update this graph.
And the next page.
The next one was Randy's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He and Mike Zelenkoff worked on that together. I don't know how to do that, those steps that they have there. So,
But,
we'll have
so
to put you and
before, so,
Randy together on that.
yeah, and does, so I personally do like the slide on 4, page 4.
Yeah.
So Bob, the game plan is you're just gonna cancel, just move everything down one, 12 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay,
He just has to add,
Yeah.
okay. On the,
Excuse me?
on slide 5, on page 5, the, I understand what's attempting to be achieved in this slide. I guess I'm just wondering if this is the best graphical representation of it.
I'm not sure that we're gonna, that we need to duplicate this again.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely in that camp with page 7.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's leave it in and not do anything. My guess is Randy really wants to keep this in.
Yeah,
But maybe he's got some reasons.
I'll circle up with I did talk to Randy, and he said, just give me any of the graphs, because I have all the data. So I'll circle up with him on this one.
I think this, it would be useful once again to show the large role education is playing in the budget increase. And the debt decrease. But I don't know if we're getting mileage out of it, so.
Yeah, because I feel that this is a better picture.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. The pie chart really
pie
was it.
chart.
Okay,
I like pie
so
charts.
but this doesn't show the year-to-year change.
No.
Which is what this thing does.
Yeah.
And maybe we want to do this in a pie chart.
Yeah, so
Maybe we want to do this in a pie
I
chart.
remember Randy talking to us about this last year,
Yeah.
and he was really high on the slide and
Yeah.
really kind of jazzed. So I'll see what the deal is.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, if I remember correctly, Terry didn't read every one of these. She just,
Oh, yeah, some of these you just zoom
you
over.
just zoom over.
Okay. Now,
Everybody should have.
can you do this one?
I tried to get into all of these were just pictures.
No, I know that, but can you create this from scratch?
Pie chart.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
right.
tried to.
Why don't you try that one? All right? Because this one's pretty straightforward, and
All right.
so. And, if you get that one without too much trouble, try doing this one as a pie chart.
All right.
And see see if you like the way it looks. All right, do you understand this distinction about debt service?
Debt service is 11% of the budget in total, 7 for non-school and 4 for town schools. So the debt service, it's not the total outstanding debt, it's just the payments that we're making.
Right.
That's debt service, and 7% is debt other than schools.
Yes. And the debt associated with the the debt associated with the high school and the track is in the education number. But that's easy because it's already in the budget that way. So what you have to do to get this number is go through the detail of the spreadsheet that shows you the debt line by line, and say, okay, this one is for school, this one is not, this one's for floor and Sawyer, this one's for
Take it out,
something else.
take it out.
Yeah. And just, you can manually split that and then just say what, 7% is what. And-
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
and then this is gonna obviously be out, because that was all last year, this asterisk.
And same
Yeah.
thing down on the other page, down here will all be out.
Right. All those notes about the showboat budget.
That's a not normal thing.
No, that was
Yeah, that was not fun.
that was very embarrassing for the school administration. So we have this next chart, comparison of expenditures. I don't know, is this a keeper or
Nope,
no? You want to get rid of it? Doesn't tell you anything?
nope.
I remember you spent a lot of time on this last year, Bob, and there was a reason we were keen on keeping this in last year, and
I think last year, or even 2 years ago when we first introduced it, we really didn't know where we stood in comparison to other towns. And so I went and I did this chart, which is based on evaluation and comparing us to other towns. But we've had it for a couple of years now, so what's the big deal? We don't think we're not moving anyplace on this chart, so I don't know if it has any new information. The only reason it might be interesting to keep is, like David mentioned Carlisle before, and Larry mentioned Carlisle when it came to free cash and stuff like that. But that's that's a different group of towns based on population versus
Exactly.
assessed value.
Well, that's the problem.
yeah, Carlisle's not here.
Right.
So, yeah, when I was looking at this last weekend, I was wondering if there's a need to continue with this slide. And I'm not,
I'm pretty convinced I feel comfortable taking it out.
I do too.
all right, yeah,
Right.
I'm good with that then. So to follow up with that, is there something else?
Thank you. I just happen to have something else. For the first time ever, we have excess tax capacity. And it might be interesting to show where our excess tax capacity is compared to other towns in Massachusetts. So that's what this chart is. This is not the latest and greatest version. If we went with the current spreadsheet, we'd be farther to the left. But 2 years ago, we were way down here at the tail. We were among the lowest states, among the lowest cities and towns with excess tax capacity.
So this is every single town in the state?
Yes,
Okay.
I only have one copy of this.
So we were down on the tail.
We were down on the tail
And we're
because we
kinda-
had less than 1% of excess tax capacity. All right, now that chart was done when we were at 160. Okay, we're at 395 this year now. So that might be helpful to say, here's where we are compared to, and we could do it against these towns, or we could do it against the whole state, or I've got another one just says, here's where we are historically. This is what it's been for the past few years. 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 1.1 and 2 point wherever we are now.
So that's saying we're a sort of a tax to the max kind of town.
We were a couple
We
of years
were a
ago.
couple of years ago.
We were a couple of years
moved
ago.
away from that.
We moved away from that. Yeah.
Which to me, that's the nicest part of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
But,
it's
you know,
more
if-
compelling keeping all the towns in the state instead of, because every time, something like this is done, the question always arises, well, why'd you pick these towns?
Well, yeah, yeah,
And, or why'd you pick that sample?
right.
So the fact that you just said, screw it, we're gonna do
The
every
whole-
town.
Well, because you can
Entire
compare,
state.
you can compare it for that statistic,
Yeah.
right?
Um,
You can compare them for that statistic.
So the point of that slide is to say that we have, again, as evidenced by all the other stuff that we've spoken about over these past couple of years, we have been moving the needle.
Right, and you know, this year, that slide will say, we're a whole lot better than 200 towns in Massachusetts. Because what number, where are we?
We're right at about 117, I would say.
117, so even when we were just at 220 or 210 or whatever it was, you know, we were still better than almost 200 of the towns.
Yeah, 337
But,
towns.
you know, if it's not a story worth telling, then we could skip it.
Well,
I
it
do-
depends on who
I-
understands it.
It's.
That would be your slide.
No, and yeah.
And you could explain that pretty easily, I think.
No, I
You
could-
could explain it easy, yeah.
I
I
mean, even.
I'm just trying to think, like,
No, I really do think that, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I do like it because I think it does tell a nice story, and I guess I'm just trying to figure out the game plan so that this might be leveraged for the future in the sense of, so next year,
Right,
assuming things continue as is,
right.
this should show better. So we could even say, you know, here's where we were, or just,
You know,
do we turn this into?
You've got a 200, you gotta remember, you've got a $235,000 gift this year. Right? If you don't apply that free cash, you're down to 160, which is still pretty good,
Yeah.
right? And you've got a story to tell. The other thing to think about in this is you can't be just throwing up slides that are unrelated. You've got to have an overarching story
Exactly.
that
Yes.
connects them all.
Well, that's the thing, where do you put it in here?
Right. So yeah, I mean, this is a great slide to show, but does it really fit in with
Well,
the other stuff?
somewhere around this page. Right, when you're talking about
And you know, to
taxes.
your point, is this something you're gonna want to continue to show year after year, or for a couple of years anyway?
Well,
Well,
yeah,
you
'cause-
definitely want to show it in a year that's really good.
well, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, to go back to Stasha's point of what is this? This is a state of the state of the town
Right,
from last year to this year,
okay.
right? So I like it, but I also want to. I think I just want to make sure that one, it is telling the story that we wanted to tell, and two, is it going to add to the conversation as we continue to move this budget year over year? So that's
You could show where Bolton is in 2015, where it was in 2014, you know, 2013, 2012.
Right. You can
That-
write your own
you could do that.
indicators on there. And there's a history
yeah.
right there.
You
And
could do
then
that. I
you
mean, you
can
know,
put
this,
it,
this number is, this blue number is for the most recent year, which is 2014, that's available. But you could fudge this so that you know, you go back and you look at 2012 and you say, oh, we were down around 300. So you just go into the Bolton 2012 number, put, you know,
whatever.
whatever gets you into 300, and it'll slide it in there. Or you know what, you could just
Put the year.
just put a graph on top of it with an arrow and says, here's
Yeah.
where we were year by year. Yeah, you don't even have
You
to
don't have
fudge
to
the
put
data.
yeah, you don't have to even put the
Is that Excel?
percentage.
Is that,
This is with Excel, yeah.
And I would put it following this page.
Well, let's, you know,
or
let's,
could you just put a text box over it?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like
Well,
this.
let's put it in, let me work on it, all right? And I'll put it in, and we can see if we want to keep it next week. It's not going to take me long to do this.
So, David, do you have copies of your presentation to share with us on the slides that you plan on presenting?
I'm sorry.
But I presume you're gonna be delivering some type of presentation at
Well,
town
I
meeting,
don't-
so.
I don't know
mean,
what they're all-
We're looking to paint this in a favorable light, because we feel that it is favorable, and based upon your emails, I'm assuming you're gonna show death and doom slides, so I was hoping for a copy of your presentation.
Okay,
Well, I'm not sure I'll be allowed to make a presentation.
Oh,
so,
I have to form a group that has at least 10 members under at least the last rules that the
Okay.
moderator had about that kind of thing. I might be able to do that.
okay.
And I do actually have a slide presentation that's got a slightly different look.
I figured it might have a slightly different bent, that's why I was asking for copies.
Yeah. Advance notice.
Yeah,
All right.
so this will be a great slide for
Yeah,
next week.
This will be for next week.
So I'll,
All right, just update the bottom too.
yes, yeah, I'm gonna just go in and put question marks.
Right. And you really need to update that for next week, because that will, if they see that there, the assessors will get very nervous.
Yep.
Okay?
Dates.
Yeah.
So where did the 2238 come from?
Apparently this is what they said last year, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
I'll change the years. We don't
Yeah,
have- This
Dave,
isn't
That's
real
right.
information.
All I did was, I took, this exact slide was from the 14 presentation,
He just.
and all I changed was 14 to 15. And
I don't remember it being
But
that
not-
high
no.
I
though.
don't remember it that high either. I thought it was in the
21 something.
something.
2120 or something like that, yeah.
Your footnote, I think, needs to be updated. but-
Yeah, we were just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just.
So actual 15 does not get finalized till December 14.
I kind of like, I'm glad to have this though, so when all the new numbers get plugged in for me who is looking at,
Pam.
yeah, trying to
You
get
know,
the
I
history,
gotta
this
go
is.
back and look at that, because that 2230 looks awful high. 2238, I don't remember that from last year. But anyway. Okay,
You didn't copy it. I mean, you.
I mean, I should have been at least consistent in taking out all these numbers and put question marks like I did with some of the other
right,
slides.
yeah, again,
I
if
was-
you will do that, it'll make the assessors more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
All of us.
yeah, this is,
Capital expenditures, cash versus debt. I think we can take out this slide. Okay?
Yeah, we said
Yeah,
everything we needed to say.
yeah, and we're introducing some borrowing
Yeah.
anyway, so.
Do you think it will come up during when the actual article comes up? Is that kind of a more appropriate place to ask the detailed questions about
About,
the borrowing on the fire
Yeah,
apparatus?
Dave might mention that we could have even had a bigger tax.
During the,
During-
about the actual article. Okay, got it.
You might even introduce an amendment to provide.
There you go. But not in this presentation.
Not a presentation, no.
All right, thank you.
okay.
Summary.
Bond rating remains strong. You know, I think we could take out that bullet point about cash reserves.
Yeah.
It just says
That's-
normal
this
is normal. I don't know why we're mentioning that. Bond rating remains strong. Cash reserves, debt service continues to decline. A question we may get asked at some point is, if we do incur the debt for the proposed debt for the fire truck, will debt still decline in fiscal 16?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So the 15, that's the 1025,
Okay.
right? And assuming it's a 7 year ban on 245.
Yeah, we said it was gonna be about 37.5 or 40,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still
So
a
it's
net,
still a drop.
still a drop. But
7-year. Who
Yeah.
decided 7-year?
I think we
I
decided
think
that.
we
At
all
the life
did
of
last
the-
Tuesday night at the,
That was the longest you can get a ban
Yeah.
for.
I know.
The truck would be longer than this one.
Okay.
You could prepay a ban
No,
without
yeah,
any.
I was hoping that'd be 5 years because it's much less
You
interest.
can pay it off in 5 years without any penalty at all. No. You gotta remember about a ban. A ban does not work like
It's
that.
year to year,
It's
right?
year to year.
Renews it.
And
Right.
it's everything the town is borrowing under bans.
Right.
So, yeah, it would be less interest, but if you want to prepay the ban,
There's no penalty.
there's no penalty for that. So we can prepay it anytime we want. Future budgetary issues, Neshoba and Minuteman, as always. Capital expenditures. DPW building. You know, I just don't see that as climbing up the radar.
I don't either.
I don't know if we want to
I think,
put that in there. Other capital expenditures would be, well, you know, the air conditioning for Florence Sawyer is going to be requested again next year. And in future years, you know, I think in the year after that, you may get a proposal to do something with the high school and Minuteman.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't, you know,
Yeah, I
future,
bring it.
I wasn't necessarily,
That's what I'm getting
That's what
right
you're
now.
getting
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily looking at the future as in next year.
Right.
And I know last year's slide did, it's because it said fire truck, and, you know, we were, you know, really throwing around,
Yeah.
you know, road repairs with Harold.
yeah, but then you can throw in, we're gonna need another fire truck in 2020.
No,
And yeah,
Well,
I would
exact-
think,
I
It would
simply looked at the capital plan
Yeah.
and said, what's big?
Yeah.
The schools are always, there's already initial talk of, in the future, you know, some big time ones with Neshoba and Minuteman, and they might be year, you know,
Back to back.
back to back.
Yeah.
right,
And I agree to an extent on the DPW building, but the present situation is there's a $3 million number in the 5-year capital plan. I don't think it's a $3 million, is it gonna be?
I would just
but it's-
put, then if you really want to put in there, I would put in there as building requests. I wouldn't, I think you're giving
right.
too much credence to one particular,
Okay,
or capital
So-
building projects.
all right, so
Something like that.
building,
Connie, did you want to say that?
Yeah. Thanks.
Was that the school one?
That's
No, I have
capital
the school
planning.
one.
Okay.
so just scrap DPW and just say building
Building,
requests or
Requests.
proposal,
yeah. You know, if you want to say, you know, DPW building versus Neshoba Regional versus Minuteman, that's fine.
Heck, you could put vault on this thing.
no. Yeah, that was specifically why.
Yeah,
No, but I'm
Exactly.
just, that's my point, though. You know. what-
Yes, you're absolutely right.
You're
I did.
picking
I did.
certain things.
But the vault is in this year.
No, the study is in this year, the vault is not,
Oh.
right?
Well,
Yeah, she has a point.
Yeah, but you could mention, you know, that's, yeah. Could be the DPW building, could be the vault,
You're right.
could be the old
Is it
fire
a
station.
You're right.
Right,
Building
that's what I'm
requests.
thinking too, building
Yeah.
requests.
Bob, I'm thinking this is school, so we're looking at a roof here, is that, am I
In
thinking that right?
18, for
Yeah.
what, roof where?
Sawyer,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Probably.
when,
and then here
But
at
that's a,
Emerson.
that's a borrow.
Tons of
Okay.
culverts.
well, that's it. When no, you're right. I mean, you're right. I did pick and choose.
And I don't think
And
that's,
the education expenses, when I think of education expenses, i.e. Neshoba, Minuteman,
well, wouldn't you
I'm-
have a new cruiser? No,
I'm
that'll be in
not-
the budget fund.
you know, I'm not thinking they're gonna juice the budget by another 4 or 5%. I'm thinking, you know, $100 million project, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, you're talking
just
too,
obscene numbers.
you've got, the heating situation at Emerson.
So
You know,
it gets
so
all
it-
baked in.
Yeah. So, David?
Just to try a phrase, town building repair and maintenance, or town building repair or replacement.
Well, but we gotta throw the schools in there too,
They're town buildings, or it's a town, yeah, they're,
including the high school.
well, that's in education costs.
Well, see, to me, that was operating budgets
Oh, okay.
See,
versus
yeah, and I don't,
Capital expenditures.
capital expenditures is, you know.
in the slide before, we
But I
lumped
think,
in.
I think that's what you speak to, again,
Yeah.
is, you know, the vault, the
Yeah.
DPW, you know, this, that, and the other thing.
Just put improvements, town improvements, heck,
Yeah.
kind of. We should cover road repairs too. But totally different. Now, what's the deal with the state and 117? Do we know? Because this big, I know road
Still
repairs all
discussion.
over, but that's a big chunk of our road repairs right there.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything about that in months.
I haven't either.
I don't even know if the selectmen actually sent a letter requesting an inquiry, expressing interest in doing it.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, well, nothing's happened since
No,
then.
it's probably a year and a half before.
Okay.
Wow.
Do culverts need to be on there, or is that
No,
administrative?
no,
Okay.
it's not trivial, but it's not the big ones.
All right.
You know, road repairs, you know, do we want to start ramping that up again too, and, you know, post-employment benefit?
I think
What about the
that's a
fire
good one,
hose?
because it's big. It's potentially
it's
big.
big.
Yeah. What about
It's big.
Well, especially that there's gonna be a, you know, the
putting
select
more on
board.
one of those?
I mean, there's gonna be
I
a,
wouldn't mention that
No, no,
until
no.
after the committee's formed.
no, you're right. I don't plan to, but the fact that, I mean, it's,
Puts it on people's radar. I mean, that's the big overview and
well, yeah, I mean, we
intention.
essentially pushed it off, you know?
Right, now it's
and-
coming up.
Yeah,
But that's nothing compared to when the school starts funding theirs.
yeah.
Which is next year, I think, based on
I don't know.
that audit report. It's online.
No, I know, but they're not, no one's obligated to start funding it.
The way that it was worded on when the gentleman was on, I have it written down, but from memory, and I want to make sure I get it right, but they were going to be looked, there was some kind of link to disfavorable reporting, audit reporting, if they didn't start funding it. So it was like, there was a push. I'll find it.
All right.
I
No, that's all
wrote it
right.
down, because it struck me.
Okay. I would have thought someone would make a big deal if, in fact, it was going to affect the results of our audits. But,
It was something the auditor said in the presentation that he gave.
okay. So. Okay, well, why don't you don't have to find it right now.
Okay. No,
Because I
I
wanted-
have it written down. It struck me because it told me that it was on their radar, and it was like next year on their radar. So
Okay.
whether or not, you're right, whether or not they funded it, they didn't say you have to fund it, but it was spoken about fairly succinctly.
We're up to,
They could use one.
another
No, nothing.
thing that we do is we assign
Yes.
articles to different people.
Yes.
And when there are questions about why did the advisory committee vote a certain way, it's up to that person to respond to that. So let's go through, I had an email exchange with Randy about this, and there's none of these that he particularly wants. And No, I mean, in that, it isn't like, I definitely want number 4,
Right.
but there's nothing he definitely wants to avoid either.
Yeah.
So he'll take whatever we want to do.
Well, I think with the tenure, it would probably be best, Bob, if you took all the ones we disapproved.
Well, he's not
I'm
gonna
kidding.
take- Not
Because
if
if
he
everyone's,
didn't-
if there's gonna be a question.
Not if he didn't vote to disapprove.
No,
Yeah.
There were a couple of them that,
All right.
yeah.
So,
joking.
accept town reports, no one's gonna ask about that, but just in case, I'll put mine next to it.
I'm going up number 1, get this page.
Oh, okay,
Well, you can see them in one shot.
there we go, that is easier. Okay, article number 1, accept town reports. Reserve account fund, let's leave that open for now, okay? No, we'll take that. The fiscal year operating budget. Here's what'll happen with that. I don't think anyone's gonna question our overall vote, but people are gonna say,
Why is,
why did you cut this by a certain amount, and why did you increase this other one by a certain
and
amount?
what is this?
And what's this, and what happened here?
There'll be 10
And-
people that disapprove.
And I think at that time, we kind of have to agree among ourselves who's gonna, whoever remembers the story behind that line item.
Grab it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
let me delegate that, rather than just grabbing the microphone and
Right.
speaking, okay? And we'll, so whoever remembers stuff, we can do that. Reauthorization of, so that will be all for Article 3. Reauthorization of a revolving fund. Does anybody want that?
Sure, I'll take it.
All right.
I'll take number 9 too, since I was involved with that. I know I'm jumping ahead, but that's,
Yeah, you're jumping in.
That's
Hold
just a
on.
given.
Dissolve the advisory board for senior tax rebate?
Nothing's gonna happen on
I know. You want that one in, Connie?
Yeah,
Okay.
but nothing's gonna happen. No, that'll be the one.
Amendments to the district agreement.
Now, who? I could,
that one's right up your alley.
I will take it, but I'm so against Minuteman. It might not,
You have to defend the advisory
I know.
committee's vote in
I know.
approval of,
I know.
okay.
oh yeah, I approve of it. I'll do that one.
Okay.
And I totally approve
And we're
for
definitely,
the reasons that Don Lowe has mapped out for us.
Okay.
yeah. I still haven't looked to see if that's on the
Yeah, I have to get
web.
All right. Articles 7 and 8 are related. So I would,
I'll take them. I'll take 7, 8, 9.
okay.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have,
Adoption of maps issued by FEMA. Stasha, you want that one?
Sure.
Oh yeah, you like maps, good. Floodplain,
I'm taking
floodplain.
that one
Goes
too,
with-
aren't
Yeah,
I?
you got 10, 11, and 12.
Alrighty.
Okay.
We are flying.
You're flying.
well, let's pick out one for Randy.
Oh, he needs the marijuana.
And he needs the
Hmm.
fire truck.
Right? Dope is right up his alley, isn't it?
I think he's more beer.
I think he want beer. It's not even here.
He looks more beer than
I'm gonna pay for that one.
He knows Bob didn't.
All right, let's just keep right on going then. So, sure, we'll give those to Randy.
13 through 16?
Yeah, they're all kind of tied in.
Yeah, 13 through 16.
Zoning. Yep. Well, then you just assume.
I can just see there.
Kennels.
Just give me a moment, I'll remember. Okay, the kennel zoning. I'll take a zoning article.
That's 17
'Cause I
or
have
18?
17, 18, 'cause I have dogs, so I'll take that.
I love the reasoning.
I know.
Huh?
How'd you guys come up? Well,
Let's see,
Bob said he had a dog.
Acceptance of Drumley Hill Road, Ledgewood Circle, and Fieldstone Way.
I'll do it. I mean,
All right.
nobody's gonna say anything about it.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be much discussion.
No.
Pedestrian mobility funds.
I'll take it.
All right.
Randy take number 20.
Take 21. That's fine with me.
I'll take 22.
You can have 22. 23 Sanders. I'll take that one.
And Stasha, leave out the bake sale, okay?
I know, I will. I was just thinking that, like, I'm doing it for my own personal, like, I need to get over it.
This is the collective.
You have
Commit.
to
I can be.
remember,
Talk
there's
bake sale
something you
later.
may not like that you have to defend.
Well, the fire stations, we recommended approval, right?
That's what I'm checking. I
No.
don't think so.
No.
We disapprove.
I voted for it, though,
See, that's, so.
So maybe
why
I
would you
shouldn't-
take it?
I
I know,
You've got to defend the advisory position.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
so
so you maybe shouldn't
I was
take
trying
it. You shouldn't take
to
it.
try to join the group, even
No,
though
I
I
mean-
disagree with the group. But I see what you're saying.
No,
I have
if-
to represent my opinion, which was to disapprove it, or to approve the purchase of
I mean, if
stuff that
yeah,
needs to be
it's,
done.
it's just simpler for you if you
You
don't take
don't.
that one, because.
Yeah.
Okay.
you-
I'll
Yeah,
get myself messy.
yeah.
Yeah.
and
No,
it's
I
not-
appreciate
and
that. I see
it's
what you're
not
saying.
you want to
I
do.
know, but I was gonna
And we
try and
used to-
smarter of my own way.
Until Larry got on the board, we used to have a distinction of the votes, like
Okay.
for yes, to nay, you know, whatever. For
Yeah.
approve, to disapprove.
All right, so.
Now we don't.
I'll
Based
get-
upon that rationale, Bob, you
So Bob, you're taking
should
the
probably
pink.
take the fire truck.
I give it to Randy.
Randy,
He's right behind
He's
you.
only got 2.
I feel like I don't have enough though, and that one I researched, so I
It
want
doesn't
to.
have anything to those other.
You want to do culvert replacement, or is there, yeah, that's next. So culvert
Sure.
replacement's up for grabs.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So who's doing 22 instead of me?
Randy,
Okay.
Who did Sanders?
I did.
You did.
Fire department rescue equipment,
I'll take 25 or 26. It's on the liaison to that department.
I'll do new ambulance.
okay. Library and town hall cameras, want me to take that?
Yes. I was against it.
Okay. Engineering and evaluation services for Floyd Sawyer boiler, you two were against that, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah.
I thought Randy, oh, no, you know, in the end, I think we all
Well, you know,
voted for it.
I did
because
ultimately,
We
That's the last
can't
one.
go beyond anything, you know, it's either we,
I originally
Ridiculous.
was on the 12, and then on the 12,000 floor, and then I'm in the boiler.
yeah.
And then I
it
did
says,
change because it was kind of tied in with hanging up this year's money, so I think I said yes to that, but I was
Yeah,
definitely against
It was
30.
approved.
We were
I don't
approved,
remember, I don't have the vote, I have the vote written down at home, I don't have it here.
I think we all ended up approving it because
Okay,
Yeah, they ultimately
We just-
all passed,
it
but
was,
you and I were
we
against.
didn't like it,
Yeah.
But it was
we felt
necessary
like
Okay.
evil to get to the,
you almost had to spend the money to get beyond.
yeah.
yeah. All right, so does anyone in particular want that, or should I take it?
I
I'm
can
gonna say
explain that.
no to 29 and 30 for me.
Okay, Stasha, you want
Yeah,
some?
sure.
Now, be
Okay.
careful, because if somebody asks you about last year, they remember that we put money in and we approved giving the school money. Will you
And
be
then I'm
able
gonna have to
to?
explain the whole idea of this
Would they-
propane and
Well,
then.
why would you do, you know, same questions we had,
Okay,
but I
are you
don't,
comfortable answering those?
can you?
You know,
Oh, yeah,
as
but-
long as I can tax you guys for just kind of the, make sure
Yeah.
I have the history and
That's all,
then
yeah.
I'd be happy to relay
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I
That's-
can do that.
I wasn't telling her not to do it.
Oh, okay.
She-
No, no, I
Get a little
appreciate the heads up.
history. Get a little history
Yep,
piece.
I appreciate that.
Article 30?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on Article 29, I'm pretty sure there is an error in the summary. It says 8 oil-fired boilers. I was talking to either George King or Michael Wood, and they saw that. and said it's only one boiler, but there are 8 components of the boiler that have a problem. So whoever defends that might want to look into what that
Yeah,
really is.
okay.
I would recommend giving Bill Cleary a call and
Yeah.
ask exactly what it is that's being done to that boiler, because according to either Michael Wood or George King, the summary wasn't correct. There are
Yeah.
8 boilers in that building.
Okay.
Bob, you're much more attuned to stuff like that. Do you know buildings that have 8 boilers in them?
Yeah,
They do, some of them do?
yeah.
Okay.
You know, my church actually has 3 boilers in it, plus a hot water heater.
I've heard 2 boilers in
And for
well, in town
redundancy.
hall, I think we have 2
Yeah,
boilers.
but what I like about the way our church did it is that, you know, here's one that runs when it gets cool, the second one kicks in when the temperature goes down a certain amount more, and when it's really cold, the third one kicks in. So it can really provide all the hot
You're not
water.
running.
Because the water gets hotter and hotter with each one, right? But then you can control which one is the main one. So it's not like one of them is running 12 months out of the year, and the other 2 only come on for, you know, 4 months and a couple of weeks. You can swap them over, and I'm, you know, I hope that's what they're doing here.
What would have been nice, was I'm assuming they had the opportunity to review, it would have been nice for them to provide that comment.
I am not sure Cleary would ever see the summary in the
Yeah.
normal course of events.
Yeah.
And I could
We'll check.
conceivably be wrong, but I
We'll
just...
check on
yeah.
that, that's fine.
That's just what
Yeah.
I think would have...
You want to do that, or you want to call Bill, or you want me to call Bill?
Do you, it'll be all new to me, but I'm willing to do the work. I don't feel like I have enough, but
I'll call him, maybe I can get a tour out of it. I love-
okay.
You can,
I love that stuff.
So,
You can
so
get a
you're
tour.
calling Bill, am I still speaking to the article?
Yeah, you still speak to the
Okay.
article. And
And then you're gonna call me.
I'll invite you to come on a tour if you want.
Excellent.
You watch a lot of that show of how it's made, don't you?
yeah.
No,
My kids love that show.
I was in manufacturing software sales,
Alright.
and the best part of that job was
Oh, yeah.
the factory tours. You know,
Yeah,
No.
well, I'm
Which
with you.
Which one was Glad to Be Your Neighbor? Who was that? What was the show with, oh,
Mr. Rum?
Mr.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
That's what he did. He had all those things like you like to do. You must have watched that show.
I don't remember that one. I
Yeah,
don't-
he used to
No.
visit
Yeah,
all
you're
these
right. I mean,
plants.
I traveled, and every time I would say, all right, who's taking me on the tour? Absolutely.
It was
They were great.
You know, I was
Yeah.
once on a tour of the Bear aspirin line, and I'm staring at this machine, and the whole rest of the group walks off. And finally go, hey, Bob! And I said, I'm sorry, but I was staring at the one part where they stuffed the cotton in, because I figured if I stared at it long enough, I'd figure out how to get it out easily. I can never get that stuff out easily.
With the Budweiser
Yeah.
plant, how fast those bottles are capped and filled, it's like
Oh, yeah.
unbelievable.
Without spilling any, that's the amazing
Yeah.
thing. All right, Article 30, flooring replacement.
I'll do that.
Okay. Okay, that takes care of that.
So I missed, who has 21?
Who's 20?
Brad has 20, the pedestrian mobility
And
funds.
Randy has 20.
Randy has 21.
Oh, okay. And then 1 and 2, oh, those two?
1 and 2, yeah, I'll take.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay. Excellent. I'll write this up and include it in minutes.
Okay.
So, the advisory statement's done, it's printed, the budget's been updated, the summary sheets have been updated, the budget sheets tie off to the end, so we've got to work on that. We've got our, so I think that's everything we needed to do this evening. The only thing let me take a couple of minutes and just tell you about a little bit about the high school space needs, just because the high school came up as capital projects. I'm on this high school space needs committee as the advisory committee representative. They meet once a month. I think we've had 4 meetings. Mostly what we've done is look at other buildings that have been done in Massachusetts in the past 5 or 6 years. Look at pictures of them, see how
I.e. schools?
schools, like Shrewsbury is a big one that got a lot of money, and there are a couple other, it's all been very nice. Hudson's another one that's been redone in the past few years, and it's all very nice. We're not really too far along on a cost justification. We're not really too far along on specifications. Last month, Bill Cleary gave us an update on capital projects at the high school. There's a leak of water that's affecting the insulation, and there's something like $60,000 of work that needs to be done to pull out the insulation and seal up the roof again. And there's a couple other spots where they've got to do the same thing. Classroom space is tight, that's fine. The projections, we've had population projections, but the population projections that they have are only, these kids are in first grade. If they get all the way to the high school as a group, here's what the population of the high school will be. There's no population study that says here's what's happened to Bolton, here's what's likely to happen to Stowe or Lancaster or something like that. So, I'm trying to get information on, I'm pressing for information on, what happens to grades after these things are done? What happens to SAT scores? I don't get excited about MCAS results, because MCAS results measure teachers and administrators. They don't measure students, right? It's moving along. The administration clearly has a goal. There are representatives from Stowe and Lancaster in those meetings. There are also a lot of different administrators in high school, administrators from the high school who are at that meeting. And clearly it's something that Michael Wood wants to see come to fruition. So it's still just kind of taxiing down the runway. It's not really taking off yet. The only thing other thing that was interesting to me was that we play North Middlesex in football and a few other sports. And North Middlesex is a regional school made up of the towns of Pepperell, Ashby, and Townsend. They've lost their accreditation.
Really?
They've lost their accreditation. And they've got to do something really quick before,
Because of their building.
because of their building,
Thank you.
all right?
Wow.
Because of their facilities. They looked at renovation, and it was more expensive than building new.
Always is.
Usually.
Pardon me?
Always is.
Yeah, so their building new has got a price tag of $89 million to replace their high school. I don't know how the population of North Middlesex compares to the population of Neshoba Regional. So that's what's going to be high on the agenda at their town meetings this spring.
For us to play them, it has to be similar, very similar.
This is a sad story, but it's true. Their lacrosse team's season has been temporarily suspended because they need to get all of their helmets certified. And they can't even practice until mid-May
What the heck is going on?
because of the quality of the helmets that the boy lacrosse players are wearing is called into question. And that's weird because certainly here, it's parents that buy the helmets, not the school.
Well, no, because if your budget's 80% salary based, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to do.
So, they're running into just a whole bunch of problems, which the lacrosse helmet thing is symptomatic of. But just by comparison, you know, you're looking at an $89 million project.
So is there,
Just 15 or 20 miles away.
is there a discussion or commentary that if these things don't get addressed, that our accreditation comes into play?
Our accreditation is up for review. This is calendar 14. The review process starts in calendar year 15.
That's right, because we saw that
It's
in the budget. 'Cause
Yeah.
we gotta
Yeah.
pay,
30 grand that we have to
yeah,
pay.
we gotta pay
housing.
30 grand.
Yeah, and I
It's
think the
been working at
accreditation
it.
project gets completed in 16. I don't, my impression is there's no danger of us losing accreditation or being put on warning, but even if you're a brand-new school, they come back and they say, here are things in the physical plant that need improving.
So that'll be telling for this committee,
Right.
whatever they come back with.
Right, but that stuff isn't really meshed into the timetable that the administration has for doing this. They want to present a proposal to the towns in fiscal 16, which
Oh, okay.
is too late, or too early for all this other stuff to be incorporated. The other thing I want to share with you folks is the Massachusetts School MSBA, Building Association, usually has a large say in building or renovation projects. And as we learned from the Science Lab project, which was an MSBA-sponsored grant, once you're a partner with them, you are the minor partner. They're the big partner. They will dictate what the requirements are, at least for that kind of special project.
This seems to be a theme with the whole education.
Well, one example that was given was if we decide to do renovations and we have to, if you're looking at the high school from Main Street, if we have to tear up the part of the pavement on the left side, okay? Then MSBA may very well say, you know what? We no longer allow impermeable surfaces on our, if you are gonna tear that up, you have to replace all your pavement all around the school with permeable hardscape. So, you know, the big thing is, if you go with the state, they'll pay 40% of it. The thing is, if you're going with the state, your costs are gonna go up.
Yeah, so what's more cost effective?
Right. And that's,
Efficient.
and if you're really looking at a serious renovation, it may be that by law, you've got to follow the MSBA recommendations anyway, even though they're not strictly what you want. Now, the downside of it is if you try to go it by yourself, and then you want to apply for an MSBA grant 5 years from now, they may say, well, you know what? You did this renovation without us 5 years ago. You didn't satisfy our requirements of 5 years ago. You've got to do it now.
And so you're back on the old
And so you're
stuff.
back on, so you've got to do it anyway at a higher cost, but that's part of the back and forth that really isn't. And the MSBA, if you remember from the Science Lab, they pick the architect. You pick the architect from a group that they approve. You pick the project manager from a group they approve. You pick your contractor from a group they approve. Okay?
And do they also tell you that it's your project?
Yeah, they tell you, well, they're in partnership with you,
Yeah.
so. But this,
That's fascinating though, we're still paying 60%, they're only paying 40.
well, it depends whatever the final agreement
Okay.
is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just drew those
Oh,
numbers
okay.
out of the air.
I wasn't sure if there was some
No,
legislation
you know,
that said
For an
that.
affluent town like us, that's right, that we'd hardly ever get more than 40%.
Okay.
A poorer
But-
town would get more.
But it's not cast in stone,
Okay,
all right? It's all up for negotiation and part of the project and this, that, and the other thing. But my point is that when this comes to fruition 18 or 24 months from now, you need to keep in the back of your mind how much of this cost is being driven by MSBA requirements above and beyond what we really need, above and beyond the basic stuff we need to do.
So it would be premature to put it in our capital.
Oh, way premature.
Okay, just
We
checking.
have no idea what the number would be, much less our
No,
share of it.
No, not the actual number, but the future, that part of the slide that says the future.
You know, you can talk to it, you can say that there's a space needs committee at the high
That's been
school,
going on for-
and there's, you know, a project at Minuteman to define the new buildings and renovations. And, you know,
Can we
That's
get back to what you opened this conversation up with, was where you said that Bill Clary, insulation, 60 grand.
yeah.
Where's the money? When's it getting fixed? And where's the money coming from?
It's coming out of the school budget, their capital projects budget. Capital expenses
So
budget,
this
I should
isn't
say.
the roof, the $150,000 roof
No.
that they're doing in that fund? Okay,
No.
different one.
This is basically, you know, it's a flat roof and it's got some leaks. And the problem with flat roofs is you get a leak, the water travels before it actually drops.
That's anything,
So, yeah.
could happen any.
Well, but at least if you have a pitch, you know it's gonna, you know, you can follow it back, whereas with a flat roof. And, you know, they found that there's water pipes on the outside of the building, because that brick facade is just a facade. There's a gap between that facade and
The
the
building.
cinder blocks on the inside that actually hold up
No
the building.
insulation?
Bricks are in between.
And
I mean,
there's
the
there's
pipes
6-inch thick water pipes
in between,
in between, and we had that super cold weather
and they're not insulated.
when school was closed during school vacation, and so one of the pipes broke.
Oh,
And they had no idea there was a pipe on the outside, literally on the outside of the building.
is that in the new section or the old section?
I think it was in one of the newer sections. But, so there's stuff like that.
Building stuff.
Yeah, so that's where we are with the Space Needs Committee. Anything else?
Next week,
Okay, next week, same.
assessors, right?
Yes, we'll start off with the assessors, then we'll go back to the presentation. And, you know, hear about Randy's most excellent adventure in Pittsburgh. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay, thank you, passes. Okay, we got